Martin Luther King Jr. Let's get to know little facts about the famous activists Martin Luther King Jr. made for kids. Who was Martin Luther King Jr.? Martin Luther King Jr. a civil rights legend. Dr. King fought for justice through peaceful protest. Martin Luther King Jr. is a civil rights legend. In the mid-1950s, Dr. King led the movement to end segregation and counter prejudice in the United States through the means of peaceful protest. His speeches, some of the most iconic of the 20th century, had a profound effect on the national consciousness. Through his leadership, the civil rights movement opened doors to education and employment that had long been closed to Black America. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a bill creating a federal holiday to honor Dr. King for his commitment to equal rights and justice for all. Observed for the first time on January 20, 1986, it's called Martin Luther King Jr. Day. In January 2000, Martin Luther King Jr. Day was officially observed in all 50 U.S. states. A little-known fact was that King's birth name was Michael, not Martin. The civil rights leader was born Michael King Jr. on January 15, 1929. In 1934, however, his father, a pastor at Atlanta's Ebenezer Baptist Church, traveled to Germany and became inspired by the Protestant Reformation leader Martin Luther. As a result, King Sr. changed his own name as well as that of his 5-year-old son. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. addresses crowds during the March on Washington on August 28, 1963 at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. It was here where he gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia on January 15, 1929. He went to Booker T. Washington High School. He was so smart that he skipped 2 grades in high school. He started his college education at Morehouse College at the young age of 15. After getting his degree in sociology from Morehouse, Martin got a divinity degree from Crozer Seminary and then got his doctor's degree in theology from Boston University. During the work on his doctorate, King met Coretta Scott, an aspiring singer and musician at the New England Conservatory School in Boston. They were married in June 1953. Martin Luther King Jr. and wife had 4 children: Yolanda, Martin Luther King III, Dexter Scott and Bernice. In 1954, while still working on his dissertation, King became pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church of Montgomery, Alabama. He completed his Ph.D. and earned his degree in 1955. King was only 25 years old. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on April 4, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee. While standing on the balcony of his hotel, he was shot by James Earl Ray. Interesting facts about Martin Luther King Jr. King was the youngest person to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. There are over 730 streets in the United States named after Martin Luther King Jr. Read more at https://www.ducksters.com/biography/Martin_Luther_King_Jr.php. This text is copyright Ducksters. Do not use without permission. It was at this march where Martin gave his "I Have a Dream" speech. This speech has become one of the most famous speeches in history. The March on Washington was a great success. The Civil Rights Act was passed a year later in 1964. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is officially birthday of Martin Luther King Jr., and sometimes referred to as MLK Day, and is a federal holiday in the United States marking the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. It is observed on the 3rd Monday of January each year.
If you like this video, please share with your friends, and don't forget to click the subscribe button.